Hi everybody, it's Geordie from Geordie's Cards. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am playing around with some new to me Mama Elephant products, and I really had this idea in mind for this card, and I just really wanted to make it and see how it turned out. So I have the Around the Campfire stamp set, which I believe comes from their new release, and then the Midnight cover die, which came from the prior release, the release just before that one. And I just had this idea of these images working with this die perfectly. So in this Around the Campfire set, there are these two little critters who look like they're doing a little bit of stargazing. And then that Midnight Sky die has that kind of big round opening, which I just thought would be perfect for the moon. So this is the reason that this card came about. So I have left my colouring in today. I'm using my Ohuhu Markers. As I've said in previous videos, these are relatively new to me. So I am still getting the hang of colour combinations and what works together. But there's only a couple of little critters to colour here, so I've left it in to show you what I used and how I went about using them. I had a bit of a mental block with my raccoon, and I probably could have just Googled him, but I couldn't remember if raccoons are black and white or black and grey. I ended up colouring him black and grey, and I figured it looked okay either way. So, but yeah, I probably should have just Googled an image and had a look at what they look like. But I figured out he looked okay anyway. So I'm making a little red squirrel. I always tend to make my squirrels red. I don't know why. I've never actually seen a red squirrel. We had plenty of grey squirrels in England, although red squirrels, yeah, I believe they're the native species. And then the grey squirrels kind of invaded and took over everything. So red squirrels are relatively rare now. But I have seen plenty of grey squirrels when I lived in England. We don't get them in New Zealand. No squirrels in New Zealand. So, but I just like colouring them in red. I think they just look really, really cute. And I love these images. I believe the stamp set is illustrated by Ada Zamora, who is just one of my favourite stamp set illustrators, I should say. I have a fair few of her Mama Elephant sets. I just love her critters. I think they're so cute. And just, yeah, they're just kind of almost whimsical, I would say. They're quite, I find them a little bit finer than, say, like the lawn fawn critters, which are very, very cute as well. But these guys just have a little bit of a whimsical quality to them, and I really love them. So I'm just finishing off colouring in my little raccoon here, and you can see that I went in with a black and greys. So my colour palette is pretty limited today in terms of the markers. I've just used those reds for the squirrel, these ones for the greys, and then I will repeat those greys, these lighter greys that I'm using on the telescope as well. So everything is pretty straightforward. And I'll just add a touch of pink to the little ears and the little cheeks as well. So yeah, the reason behind this card, I just couldn't get the idea of this, these two little critters doing some stargazing up at this massive moon and the stars around it out of my head. And as I say, when I saw these sets, this stamp set and that die, I kind of it just sprang to mind straight away. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes that I just have ideas that, you know, just kind of like bolts out of the blue. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Other times it takes me a while to figure out what I'm going to do. But yeah, this one was there immediately as soon as I saw the stamp set, and I knew that I had to get it and make this card. So I'm glad I'm finally getting the chance to play around with these little images and this die set to have a play and see how it would come together. Because, you know, sometimes you get ideas in your head and they don't always marry up perfectly with what goes on paper and in real life. But I think today it did work out nicely. So I'm just finishing up my colouring with a little bit of white gel pen detail, which is something that I tend to do with all of my little images. Occasionally I forget, but I do try and remember. It does just, I think, add a little pop of life to your images, make them look a little bit more three-dimensional and a little bit more, I don't know what the word is. They're not realistic because they're not realistic looking critters, but you know what I mean. It just brings the image to life a little bit. I do have the coordinating dies, so I have my little mini Heffy Doodle die cutting machine here, which I'm using to die cut my little images out. I love having coordinating dies. I used to do all of my cutting by hand, fussy cutting. I'm quite happy to do things with dies these days. Maybe I'm getting lazier in my old age. But anyway, I have gone ahead and die cut that background die panel, and I've just cut that from some Bristol Smooth cardstock so I can do some ink blending. And I'm masking off all of the stitch detail around the edges there with some low tack tape. Once I have that done, I'm going to start in the center where my kind of moon is going to be. I'm going to just add a touch of yellow around that edge to make it look like the glow from the moon. So I'm using squeezed lemonade Distress Oxide ink here, and just going, as I say, just around the edges, fairly lightly, not too dark. I don't want to add too much colour, but I will go back in again once I've added my other colours on as well, just to brighten it up a bit more. So I'm going to pull out, I don't have Peacock feathers in Distress Oxide. I only have it in Distress ink, and I figured it would work because I don't want too much of it to show. I just wanted a touch of kind of a lighter turquoisey blue to blend into that yellow. So I'm just going around the edge again with this Distress ink, and I find the Distress ink is not quite as thick as the Distress Oxide is. It kind of, I think, because the Distress Oxide tends to sit on top of the paper, you see a little bit more pigment than you do with the Distress Oxide, with the Distress ink rather, sorry. So I do like the Distress inks, but they just give a different effect. I'm going in now with Uncharted Mariner, so I did go back with my squeezed lemonade, now with my Uncharted Mariner, and we're going to go around the edge again. So you can see I'm just leaving quite a small border where you kind of get a mix of that squeezed lemonade and peacock feathers. And I love this Uncharted Mariner colour, and it's kind of like a deep turquoisey blue. I think it looks really, really pretty. So going fairly heavy all the way around the edge, going back in with just that yellow brush, just what's ever left over on there to brighten up that yellow edge. And then I'm going to finish off with some chipped Sapphire Distress Oxide ink, which I'm just going to use on the very kind of corners of my card here. Just to add a touch of darkness. Obviously, I want this to be a night sky, so I want it to look like a night sky. So I wanted to add a touch of darkness there. You can see I'm not worrying too much about the bottom portion because I am going to be covering that up, so I'm not too worried about keeping that kind of white. It doesn't matter because it's going to be covered up. Just going back again with that Uncharted Mariner blending brush, and then that is pretty much it for this part of the panel. I will go ahead and lift up all of that masking tape around the edge, and I do like the effect of that nice white border all the way around. So I'm going to pop that to the side, and I'm going to work on this piece, which is going to be like my grassy hillside piece. So I have cut that with the Slim Card Basics die from Mama Elephant, which is just got a landscape piece, and it's got no stitching detail or anything like that. So I cut the bottom part of it with the Midnight Sky die, so it had that stitching detail on it, and then just cut the top part with that Slim Card Basics landscaping die to get that hill shape. And for this piece, I'm using Rustic Wilderness Distress Oxide ink, which is quite a deep green colour, almost an olivey green, and I'm just, I had a bit of a mishap with my tape. It didn't hold my panel down as well as I would have liked, so I'm going to have to re-stick everything down again, but it's easily enough done, and I haven't got much more to do. All I'm really going to do now is bring in some of more of that squeezed lemonade and just add that to the very top of my grass. I wanted it to look like it had a touch of that kind of moon glow to the top of the grass as well, so it kind of looks like it's bathed in moonlight. That was the idea behind it. I'm not sure that it really added that effect, but I tried. So next up I have the centerpiece from that Midnight Sky die, which is just this round piece. I've just adhered that temporarily onto my mat there, and I'm going in with Scattered Straw Distress Oxide ink, and I'm blending that all over the center of my moon. Now I was debating whether moons are darker on the inside and then lighter on the outside, or lighter on the inside and darker on the outside. I'm not 100% sure, I still don't know, but I decided to do it this way around, so it was darker in the center and then lighter out towards the edge. So I'm going back in with that squeezed lemonade again all the way around the edge, just using a sticky note to hold it down so I don't get fingerprints all over it. And just going back around and making sure that I get it blended out all nicely. Once that was done, I used the moon, I can't remember, nighttime sky stencil it's called, from Lawn Fawn. Here it is, and it's got these kind of crater pieces on it. Now, although the moon in this stencil set is slightly smaller than the one in this die set, I figured it would still work pretty well. I'm just using some post-it note to cover off any pieces I don't want to ink blend over. And then I'm going to pull out this Narwhal ink by Lawn Fawn just to add my little crater details on there. And I'm just using a small blending brush here just to blend that through the stencil and onto my moon. And I really love this stencil set. I've used it quite a few times and I just thought this looked really, really cool. And yeah, makes it definitely a moon if you didn't know what it was before. So my moon is complete. I'm going back to my other panels here and I just have a metallic gold watercolor paint which I am going to splatter all over these two pieces to create kind of like stars, I suppose, but also just to create a little bit of interest to my background panel. Obviously stars aren't going to be in the grass, but I just thought that shimmery gold really made everything kind of, I don't know, it just made it look a little bit special, I suppose. Gives a touch of glamour to the card. So I'm going quite heavy-handed with that, splattering all over it, and you can see that lovely detail on there. It looks so pretty. The gold looks so pretty with those kind of tealy blue colours that I've used. So I have a standard sized card base here, 5.5 by 4.25 inches, and I'm attaching my panel down on top, just using liquid glue on top there. Now, initially I did think about laying a piece of like glittery cardstock behind this so that the stars glittered in the background, but I figured actually white was just as good, and I liked the gold paint in the sky and then the white stars. I thought it looked quite effective. I'm going to lay my grass panel down at the bottom there and cover up that white part that I didn't ink blend. And then I'm going to adhere my moon down on top as well. So just everything flat today. I didn't use any foam tape or foam squares or anything. I've just put everything down flat and I think it looks really, really sweet. So once I've mashed all of that down, I pull out these cloud pieces. Now these cloud pieces come from that Midnight Sky die, Midnight cover die, get my words out there. And I've also pulled out the Banner Greetings die set from Mama Elephant, which cuts out these little banners. I've decided to go with this one that just says just saying hello, and there were a few to choose from, and I decided to go with this one because I wanted kind of like just an everyday card, something that you could give someone anytime. So not necessarily a birthday card or for a particular occasion. So this one, just saying hello, I thought worked really well. And the great thing about this die is it's got the solid background and then the kind of layering piece with the words cut out. So I've cut the solid background from white and then the word layering piece from dark blue cardstock, just a scrap of dark blue that I had in my stash. So I'm laying out the little clouds. I love these clouds. They're kind of whimsical and a little bit different. They're kind of swirly and they look really, really neat. So I've laid them out where I want them to go and laid out my little critters and my banner. And now it's just a case of attaching everything down with liquid glue, and that will be my card complete. And I do really like how it turned out. It's so nice when an idea that you have in your head does translate into reality and it does actually work the way you want it to work. I just think it's a really, really sweet little card, and I just love these critters. They're so cute and adorable, and yeah, had a lot of fun making this one today. I hope you enjoyed it too. And it's also nice sometimes not to do something like too intricate or detailed, just a flat card but with lots of fun background going on and these cute little critters. And sometimes that's more than enough. You don't need all the interactive elements that I sometimes create. So it was really nice. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up. Please do subscribe to my channel. I would love to see you come back and join me again. And please do feel free to leave a comment. I would love to hear from you, and I do try and respond to all of the comments that you leave below. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care.